Welcome back to Dating Intentionally. I'm Talia. I'm sharing no nonsense advice for navigating dating and relationships with confidence and ease. Whether you've been dating for a while or you're just getting started, I believe dating can be fun. Today, I'm sharing some of your dating dilemmas. I haven't dedicated a whole episode to dating dilemmas in a while, and I just want to thank you so much for sharing all of your dating stories with me and for being so generous because when you share what you're going through, it makes other people feel less alone. Also, it's pretty fascinating to see what kinds of situations that these dating dilemmas get us into and how we can grow from them. Also, at the end of this episode, I am sharing a bunch of personal updates because this episode comes out the day before my 1 year wedding anniversary. So, we're celebrating a lot over here. And so, if you want to stick around at the end, you'll hear my thoughts on our first year of marriage and other updates. Real quick, before we get to the good stuff, if you want to submit your dating dilemma, you can do that in the show notes. I have a form for you. It's anonymous. It's always in there in every show notes of every episode. So you can always drop in your dilemma and who knows, maybe you get to hear it on the podcast or in a YouTube video. Okay, so I have four of them. Let's get started with this first one. I, 34 female, have been seeing this guy, 35 male, for about 6 months. After a few months, he wanted to take a break because he felt he needed time to find himself. We had been seeing each other 1 to 2 times a week and texting daily at this point. He had been single for 2 years, but was still dating casually the past year after getting out of a serious relationship of 7 years. He ended up having a kid with his ex and found out that their child's on the spectrum 2 years ago. I've been trying to be patient and give him the time and space to figure things out, but we've started seeing each other again, although less than we were before, and he says he sees something long term with me and wants to know for sure that I'm, quote, the one, rather than jumping into something. How much time and grace should I be giving him? How do I even know if he's, quote, the one for me? There is a lot going on here. And thank you for submitting this. Let's break it down. 6 months in, he wants space, or in your words, a break, because he wants to find himself. I am so curious to know what this means. Does it mean like an eat, pray, love style trip across the world? Or does that mean quitting his job and doing a career 180? Or just taking up meditation? If I were you, I'd ask him, what does it mean and why does he feel like he can't date during that time? I totally get feeling lost in life, but it did make me roll my eyes a little bit when I read the line about him wanting to find himself. I guess it's a little cliche, but who knows? That's just where he's at in life, I guess. You also mentioned that he had a kid with his ex. I'm going to be honest, I'm not really sure how this factors in, much other than maybe it makes dating him a little bit more complicated. But as you probably know, people with kids and previous partners also date. So I'm not really sure, again, how this information really contributes, other than, again, adding a layer of complexity. I wanted to say, generally, let's not read too much into his dating history. What matters is his deal right now. And I'm just going to say this: 6 months of dating, that is time and space. Like, that is plenty of time to get to know someone if you want to commit to a relationship, which isn't permanent. Relationships you could easily get out of, there's nothing binding about them. And I think there's way too much like backpedaling and fear and like, oh no, should we do it? And it's like, just sometimes just like do it, just try it out. Generally, to everyone listening, I want you to think about steering clear of people who think they need to know you're, quote, the one before getting into a relationship. And I understand perfectly why people take this approach, even though it's kind of backwards. He's clearly trying to avoid mistakes and maybe things he's experienced in the past. He doesn't want to bring them into his next relationship. But instead of digging deep internally and searching for the answers he needs, he's hoping the answer of whether or not you're the one will just smack him in the face. And that's not really how it works. Like, you can't know if someone is the one before you commit to a relationship. Dating and actually doing the relationship and committing on that level is how you know if they're the one. You can't know before you try. If you want a deep dive on how to know if someone's the one, go check out episode 107 of this podcast. It is called How to Know If They're the One, and I'll link it in the show notes for you. The truth is, if this guy actually sees something long term with you, he needs to let it play out. 6 months of dating, that can easily turn into something long term. Because honestly, like he's worried about jumping into something where I'm like, you're already something. You're already in it. Whether you like it or not, you've been dating each other for 6 months. In terms of what you asked me, how do you figure out if he's the one for you? I'm going to say I wouldn't worry about this yet. You need to see if you even align on what your relationship is, like defining it, and what you want it to be first, and then actually live in that for a while. The other thing you can do is dial into your needs. And I have a whole course on how to identify your needs, which you can do in an hour. It took me like 5 years, but you can do it in an hour. I will also link it in the show notes. It's self guided, it's pretty quick, and you will walk away knowing exactly what your needs are in a relationship. As for your other question, how much time should you be giving him? Not much more if he's not willing to try your relationship out like in a more committed way. Like I said up top, getting into a relationship isn't permanent and it's easy to get out of, so you might as well just try. And if he's not down for that, I would consider walking away at this point because it's already been 6 months. Question for you listeners: what do you think of this whole I need to find myself? Do people actually find themselves while in a relationship, or is that something you do when you're not in a relationship? Let me know in the comments on Spotify or on YouTube, or you can DM me on Instagram at dating.intentionally. All right, let's move on to the next one. I, 27 female, am dating a 26-year-old male, and we've gone on 3 dates so far. This is the first time I've felt good chemistry with someone this early on all year. We have some same values, but we haven't had any in depth conversations on this yet. We have similar active lifestyles, the goal of settling down soon, and he's only been green flags so far with how he treats me and has made it apparent that he wants to keep seeing me. My dilemma is even though we have the chemistry so far, I'm not sure we have the emotional connection yet. At what point do I point this out? It's still early on, but should I say that I want to get to know you on a deeper level and would you like to do the same with me? Wanting that emotional connection before I can move forward in a relationship is important to me. Or should I say something like wanting that emotional connection before I move forward in a relationship is important to me, or something like that? Thanks. I love all the content you put out. Thank you. And thanks for this question. This is a good one. I don't think that you have to talk about talking about deep stuff. You can just get into these conversations. And I know it's tricky to do that because it's hard to ask someone out of the blue about their values or feelings about stuff and inner thoughts, but it's something that you can get better at and more comfortable with practice. I recommend listening to my episode all about developing a deeper connection emotionally. It's episode number 189. I highly recommend going to listen to the episode, but basically, I talk about how to create a deeper connection without so much talking, because emotional connection isn't just about what you talk about. Creating safety isn't only done through conversation, it's done through experiences, especially for guys, as I've read and heard. So, at what point do you point it out? I don't think you have to point it out. Why not plan some fun, dynamic dates, meaning dates where you're not just sitting across from each other talking, dates where you're doing something active, and listen to my episode on creating a deeper connection and decide what to do. Also, remember, it's been 3 dates. Have some patience. It takes time for people to open up. You like with the right person, you have all the time in the world to learn all about their inner thoughts and feelings and inner life. So be patient and keep going. Trust that if you continue to see each other, you will get more emotionally close because you're going to have more experiences together. By the way, wanting emotional connection before moving forward in a relationship is a must for a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of people are nodding their heads like, yeah, I want that too. Don't think about moving into a relationship on date 3. Think about if you want date 4. Take it one date at a time and focus on if you're having fun. You also asked, like, I want to get to know you, if you should say something like, I want to get to know you on a deeper level. Would you like to do the same with me? This is something you can figure out through actions. If someone is continuing to spend time with you on dates, like one on one time, the assumption is that they want to keep getting to know you. Okay. People don't typically spend time with people that they don't enjoy spending time with. I mean, and especially in the case of dating, because we don't have to. It's a choice. So if they're still showing up, if they're continuing to show up on dates, they want to get to know you. That is the assumption. By the way, I do have some personal experience on this one. When I was dating Johnny, my husband, it took a while to get him to open up. It took a while to get him to share with me, like, he was such a slow burner because he uses humor so much that you have to really crack into who he is through all the humor and jokes, which I love, by the way. But like early on, I trusted that if we kept dating, that emotional connection and the deeper conversations would come, and they did, because Johnny's an emotionally available person, and I'm someone who is, pushing for that kind of thing. So I'm trying to encourage you to just loosen the reins a little bit, loosen your grip on this a little bit, and let things play out. Let things, let yourself have fun and enjoy the moment instead of like being like, are we creating an emotional connection? Oh no, it's we're dating, but I don't know if I feel emotionally connected yet. Just trust that it will happen if you keep seeing each other. And maybe it won't, by the way. Maybe along the way you will figure out that you're not a match, and that's fine. But if you are a match, it's going to happen. In the comments, I would love to hear how you would handle the situation. Would you say anything at this point, or would you just let things play out? Let me know if you're listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube. You can also shoot me a DM on Instagram at dating.intentionally. Let's get into the next dating dilemma. I'm a 38-year-old woman dating a 37-year-old man for 3 months. Things have been going well. We've been spending more time together, talking openly about where we're at, and being intentional with our time. We had our first real stretch apart 3 weeks due to travel. The night before he left, he got really awkward and basically asked me to leave his house, saying he was stressed about a work presentation. The next morning, I wished him luck and sent a thoughtful message apologizing for acting weird when I left, but he didn't respond for 24 hours. The morning of his flight, I sent a short message saying I'd love to hear from him before he left, but felt like I was messaging myself. He called, and that's when he had a quote, freak out moment. He threw a lot into the conversation: pain from a past 6 year relationship that ended abruptly, uncertainty about not being emotionally ready but wanting to be, feeling behind in life, saying he didn't see a 2 to 4 year future with me, and yet also saying he really likes who he is with me and how simple this feels. He asked if we can talk more after he landed. Our second talk went great. He clarified that he wants to take things slow, be more intentional with our time, and be attentive to our emotions, and he doesn't want to make any big decisions right now. I asked if he wanted to stop seeing each other, and he said no. We decided to keep things slow and intentional together while realizing dating is uncomfortable sometimes and to keep checking in. We talked through the discomfort of that first hard conversation, stayed present with each other, and he's continued to text while on his week-long boys' trip abroad. I decided to take a small step back until we can revisit and clarify things in person. My question: since he brought this all up, stayed engaged in the conversation, and has continued to show up, was this likely just a quote freak out moment he can work through, or is this more of a hard no red flag? Okay, so to recap, you were dating for 3 months, there was some travel, 3 weeks before you left, he got overwhelmed about work, and then he kind of blew up at you on the phone. Then you were able to repair and reconcile, and it seems to be okay for now, like the calm after the storm was happening, but now you're just kind of like questioning things. Okay, makes sense. This is another example of putting way too much pressure on getting into a relationship which is not legally binding. Like, I just want to see you guys go for it more. Like, obviously, thoughtfully, consciously, but with less fear. This is more speaking to the guy, like in this story. He's not the one writing in, but like, man, it's okay. If you go all in on someone and decide a month later it's not going to work, that's okay. Yeah, it sucks, but it's okay. I do think this is a red flag. He's showing you how he deals with his emotions. Obviously, we don't have all the details, but from what you described, it kind of sounded like he unloaded a bunch of stuff he'd been holding in all at once. And that is not great. I don't know if that's a sign of emotional unavailability as much as it is as a sign that he might know when and how to communicate very well. That being said, the fact that he was open with you is good. It's just that how he did it wasn't great. You know, especially right before getting on a plane, which is crazy. Like, I really don't like that part that he unloaded on you, he took off, phone on airplane mode, and then you had to kind of sit there with that conversation until he landed. That's not a fun feeling, and I don't like that he put you through that. I also want to just point out, like, what he brought up in this unloading conversation didn't really have a lot to do with you. Clearly, he just has a lot on his mind, which, is part of being a human being sometimes. But part of being an adult is knowing kind of how to regulate your emotions and knowing what to say when in a lot of cases, especially when it comes to these delicate situations. His pain from a past 6 year relationship and feeling behind in life, those things have nothing to do with you. And in my opinion, he probably shouldn't have said anything about that in that moment. But at the same time, he was letting you into his life and what he was experiencing. I don't think it was smart of him to just unload all at once, but like on the other hand, it's like, okay, he did share what he's going through and let you in on what he's feeling. Ultimately, I do think this is something you can work on and work through, especially because you were able to talk after he landed and it sounded like it was a good conversation. But I think it's also smart that you're stepping back and being like, what is this about? Like, is this a red flag? And I think it's more of a yellow flag, something to just keep your eye on to see if this becomes a pattern. See if there's going to be another moment in your relationship where he gets all quiet, he starts to withdraw, and then the next day he unloads on you. That's a pattern, right? That we have to pay attention to. And it's not your pattern to fix or solve or figure out, but it'd be more of like, do I want to deal with this? Do I want to stick around when this person is doing this to me? And also, what boundaries can I set here? Like, if he starts to unload, can there be a boundary? Like, hey, you know what? You sound like you have a lot on your mind. I think we should have this conversation when you've been able to collect your thoughts. That's a boundary that you can set in that moment and to see if he respects that. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. It's a yellow flag. Keep an eye on it, set a boundary if needed. And maybe you can also have a conversation about communication styles. And maybe he's the kind of person who does need space when he's stressed, which is fine. He just needs to be able to communicate that. So, this is an interesting one. Thank you for submitting it. Thank you for sharing. And I hope that this answer was helpful. And I really want to hear from you on this one. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, would you keep dating someone after a freak out like this, or would you walk away? Comment yes or no. Let me know your take. Okay, let's do one more. So, about 3 months ago, I met this girl on Hinge. She's 27 and I'm 29. She messaged me and we set up a date right away. Everything went very well. We went on about 7 or 8 dates, great connection. We're both into a lot of the same things and have great conversation and great physical touch. We were not intimate yet. She went on a vacation to Iceland for hiking with her friend and her friend's boyfriend, and she said she wanted to be away from her phone as much as possible on the trip to have a reset. I texted her in the morning and at night at most, and the first 3 days of the trip, she was texting me back like normal and sending me all the pictures she took on the trip. She even sent me kissy emojis and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden, she started to seem uninterested in texting me and not sending me any pictures. I did not ask for any pictures or anything, but it just was weird that she all of a sudden took a turn. When she got back, she was still limited on texting me and seemed uninterested. She got back 3 days ago and we've been texting a little here and there. I called her yesterday and she didn't answer and said that she was doing something, so I asked her to call me when she gets a chance. I haven't heard back from her since. We connected very well and we've had some deep conversations and everything seemed perfect before her trip. I know she did not meet a guy on the trip, so I'm just confused as to what happened. I'd still love to be with her. How do I go about messaging her? Do I call her and send her a text? Do I wait a few days and give her some space? I don't want to lose this girl and I don't want to mess it up. Thanks so much. So this is so frustrating, and I swear the slow fade is the bane of dating today. I wish I could tell this woman, hey, figure out what you want and either move on or move forward with this guy. So this in between stuff absolutely sucks. And look, there are some possibilities here. I know when I come back from a trip, especially a trip when I've not been on my phone, getting back to reality can be pretty overwhelming. So I have compassion for that situation, but still, to the person who wrote in, you're in the dark and you have no idea what to do. And I hope that this answer helps. I just want to say off the bat, like, so far, you haven't done anything to mess it up. Nothing has been your fault. You wanting connection during her trip is normal. You wanting connection when she got back and wanting to see her, after a trip is normal behavior. This is how we should be dating. You are showing interest. You're like, hey, I want to be in touch with you. I want to see you. That makes sense. That's not messing it up. But I understand you're feeling a shift. So, in terms of what's going on, we can only guess. Maybe it's post trip overwhelm. Maybe she isn't interested anymore and you're right. Maybe she's just not feeling well. I don't know. Just know that you didn't do anything to mess this up. Your actions are not the reason why she's pulling away necessarily. It's more to do with her and whatever headspace she's in right now. I also wouldn't take her not texting you during her trip as a sign of disinterest when she told you up front she didn't want to be on her phone a lot and she was on a hiking trip. Chances are she probably didn't even have service in Iceland when she was hiking during this trip. So I really wouldn't take that too personally. And I am glad she at least set the expectation with you before that you wanted to unplug. So I really wouldn't take that as disinterest, even though the first few days she was sending you pictures and stuff and then fell off. It's very possible she just got in the zone, and that's okay. Of course, now that she's back, you want to see her. You called her, she didn't pick up, you haven't heard from her. Here are some of the options that you can do. And my advice, by the way, generally don't call her again since she seems to prefer texting. But option one, text her and just ask her on a date. Don't acknowledge her weirdness and just get the ball rolling to make a plan. Show that, hey, this is where I want to go. And you don't have to say that, you can just do it with your actions by asking her on a date. Hey, what are you doing this week? I'd love to meet up, hear more about your trip. Do you want to get coffee? Option two, you can text her and call out the shift. You can say something like, hey, I just want to check in and see if you're still interested in getting to know each other. That's it. And just send that text. I know it's a scary text to send. I know it's very direct, but it's going to get you the answer that you want. It also shows that you're a secure person who can handle direct communication, which we love. Let me know how it goes. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you're in a similar situation, know that you can always just send the text and just say, I want to check in, see if you're still interested in getting to know each other. The right person will let you know what's going on and figure out a plan with you. Someone who's not interested will either not answer or give you a vague answer, like they'll list a bunch of excuses, like reasons why they can't date right now, or they'll just say, like, you know what, something did shift and they're not interested. Whatever you do, don't chase them and respect it if they show you or say they want to move on. And also, you can give yourself a pat on the back for doing the secure thing and speaking up. So I want to hear from you on this one in the comments. Let me know, what is worse in your opinion, being slow faded or being ghosted? Tell me below if you are listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube. You can also DM me on Instagram at dating.intentionally. Also, if you have any advice that is different than what I said here, please share it so we can all know. I think it's what I love about dating is there's just so many different ways to approach things, and I am well aware that my way isn't the only way. But I hope that these answers just kind of give you a pragmatic, practical, direct approach to getting through these sticky situations. Thank you to everyone who submitted your dating dilemmas, and I just love reading them, I love sharing them, and I hope that you find this helpful. So, this episode is coming out one day before my 1 year anniversary, and I wanted to take the time to answer questions about my first year of marriage. So, if you're curious, stick around, and if this isn't relevant to you, I totally get it, and I'll see you next week. So, I'm just going to do some rapid fire Q&A. What have you learned about yourself and your spouse? So, I've learned I still have a lot more work to do emotionally and in my healing and everything. Like, having the ring doesn't fix all that stuff. I still have to work on myself. I really like being a wife. I feel like this role suits me. I'm enjoying it a lot. And I'm excited for the next chapter. Like, I am very much one of those people who is always looking forward to the next thing, but I'm really glad we had this first year of marriage. This is like my year of nothing. Like, we aren't doing anything this year. We didn't have any big major life events, and this was really the first year I got to see what our relationship was like when we weren't planning some big event like a move or getting engaged, like planning a wedding or like getting married. So that was great. In terms of what I learned about my spouse, well, I would say this year was really tough for Johnny at work. He didn't lose his government job, luckily, with all the craziness happening this year, but I learned what he's like when he's enduring ongoing stress and sadness around something he can't really control. And I learned how to support him in that. So that was just something we went through this year that showed a lot about our relationship and honestly how strong it is. Does it ever feel boring? Yes. I mean, I have experience with long-term relationship that, where we weren't married for 6 years, and I have this experience where we're together for 3 years and we are married. And yes, there are moments of boredom in a long-term relationship because your relationship isn't supposed to be the most exciting thing in your life, and your relationship isn't meant to be in your life to be exciting, right? That's not really the point. So, yeah, it does get monotonous and boring sometimes, but I think that's part of the beauty of it. Like, I want stability. I want that. That's so nice. It makes me feel so safe. Also, boredom is pretty solvable. Like, You can go out and do things, plan things, make it fun, shake it up. Like, I'm big on shaking up the routine. So like if we watch the TV like 3 nights in a row, the next night I'm like, no, let's play a game. Let's go out, have a drink. Let's do something else. So I think as long as someone in the relationship is making sure things are not getting into like a really boring routine, you're probably fine. And like I said, this year was our year of downtime, but we also enjoyed several international trips. We're currently in Paris right now as you're listening to this. We went camping, we did quick getaways, tons of family time, and working on projects together. What feels different in marriage compared to dating, engagement, or just living together? I think the biggest difference to me is having to consider someone else in everything. Like, Johnny is attached to me, and we have to make decisions as a unit. Otherwise, our family will start to fall apart or deteriorate, or I don't know, like we have to move forward together on things. That's something to get used to. I'm definitely a very independent person. Part of the reason I used to love solo traveling a lot is because I didn't have to wait for anyone to plan or make decisions or just book a plane ticket. I just got to go. So I'm learning to become a person that's more collaborative and more like, okay, let's do this all together. Also, I would say another difference is that our communication and ability to repair has become a lot more important. I'm very aware of the ratio of like for every five positive interactions, like that can be taken away by one negative interaction. That's like kind of the ratio there. So it's like making sure that we really treat each other well and with respect, because over time, if the negative interactions start to pile up, that can really, really affect the marriage and it can be very sneaky. So I'm really aware of how we communicate, how we treat each other, and making sure we're having a lot of positive interactions. And that means like, kissing, hugging, saying I love you, showing appreciation, like all those things. But other than that, I would say the difference between living together and being married, it's not that different. Yeah, so far. What's a piece of advice you tell yourself back then or what you wish you knew? I think something I didn't realize when I was dating or even like a year ago is that the more energy you put into taking care of yourself, the better partner you can be. How I show up for myself directly reflects how I can show up for Johnny. And I've learned that when I'm treating myself better, I'm just a better partner. So I've been really focusing on myself a lot, and Johnny gets to reap the benefits of that. Someone asked about our approach to household labor. So, we've been married for a year, we've lived together for 2 years. I love our approach. It's basically the protocol is whoever sees something first that needs to be done does it. There's no keeping score, there's no chore chart, there's no your turn, my turn. It's just if the first person who sees the trash is full and needs to be taken out, just does it if they have time. So that's been the protocol. We both care about keeping our house orderly and clean and like just a nice space to be in. I work from home all day, so that's really important to me. And it just hasn't been an issue. And it wasn't an issue before we got married. It's not an issue now. Who knows if it'll be an issue in the next chapter, but for now, things are pretty easy. We both take care of the dog. We both go grocery shopping. We both do things around the house. I would say I cook 90% of the food because one, I'm amazing at it. Two, I love it. And three, for now, just I have time. I can do it. But Johnny takes care of all of the communication with our property management people. He makes sure the trash goes out every week on time, and he does a bunch of other stuff. But we don't keep score. And that's been wonderful for our marriage. What has been the hardest and easiest part? Nothing's really been that hard. Luckily, again, like I said, supporting Johnny through this hard year with his career has been a challenge. We've definitely had some money challenges in terms of how we just see spending and saving differently. So navigating that has been a challenge, but again, nothing impossible. It's not like we don't know how to figure this out. We've been able to figure it out. But I think another hard thing that was unexpected is just learning how to adjust together. I never really thought about how many periods of adjustment you go through with a partner, and adjustment and change is hard for anyone. For example, we had like a small move, 5 minutes away from our original place. We moved into a bigger house, and that adjustment in the first month or two was hard because just certain things were different about our new living space, and I was cranky about it. I wasn't really taking to that change as well as I thought I would. And that's just one example of how like change affects people differently. And seeing that play out in our marriage has been a challenge because it wasn't something I was expecting to deal with. The easiest, has always been planning together. We love planning things, whether it's dates, trips, the next chapter of our lives. Like, planning has always been so easy with Johnny, and I love that. It's a huge perk of our marriage. Like, we just get it done, we get it on the calendar, and it's easy, it's fluid. There's no convincing each other. It's just like, okay, we want to go on this trip. This is the budget. Here's how we can make it happen. Let's just do it. And finally, someone asked, is it what you expected? It's better than what I expected in many ways. I am so happy that I got married, and so far it's been great. I don't expect it to feel this way every year of my marriage, but the first year has been pretty amazing. A bunch of people asked us about kids, and that's been a whole journey. My personal update is that want to start trying next year, and we would have started sooner, but life had other plans. I talk about it more in my Substack, which I'll link in the show notes. I'm not going to be talking about it on the podcast, but there is a space if you are interested in that journey. Go check out my Substack. It's free. All right, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for trusting me. And don't forget, you are doing great. If you know someone who is navigating dating and could use a confidence boost or some fresh perspective, share this episode. And if this show has helped you in your dating journey, a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify really helps me. Once again, I'm Talia. This is Dating Intentionally, and I'll catch you next time.